Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. Tonight's video features truly terrifying camping horror stories. These stories were sent in by viewers just like yourselves. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button now. Sit back, relax, enjoy, and stay sinful. Story number 1. Camping to me is the best way of spending recreational time. I'm a 20-year-old male and I grew up in the great outdoors. I am an only child and I remember growing up spending all my free time outside. My parents encouraged me to explore nature and avoid television at all costs. When I hit my teenage years, my closest friends and I would pack up a 4-man tent and hit the great outdoors for a weekend of fun in the sun. My buddies and I were all Boy Scouts together at the same time as kids, so we were very well versed in the outdoors and all things survival. Part of our Eagle Scout plan was to log a certain number of hours in different campsites and areas around our state. We spent nearly 200 hours of time in forestry work as a part of our community service. Back to business. We had a 3-day weekend planned for our camping trip. We live in the Pacific Northwest and we're camping in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. I have a favorite spot that my parents and I camped at growing up that is close to the river and has a perfect shelter area that will keep us dry if it rains. We put the tent up, set up all of our supplies, and started to cook up some dinner. We arrived at camp at nearly dusk, so we had to scramble putting everything up. Luckily, I know this spot like the back of my hand. My friend Kevin got a fire started, and Steve cooked up the hot dogs and baked beans for our dinner. The time now was 9 p.m. as we gathered around the fire to grub. Dinner hit the spot even though it was cheap food. We had hiked in about 4 miles to our spot, so we were very tired at this point. As we cleaned up after dinner, Steve heard a rustling in the trees. And then I heard sticks and twigs snapping. These sounds seemed to circle our campsite. The 3 of us did come prepared with 3 handguns. We all have our permits to carry. I decided to call out and I said, "Hello? Who's there?" Even though we carry guns, it doesn't guarantee we will be exempt from a potential death scenario. Our senses were on high alert and my heart felt like it would jump out of my throat at any moment. The rustling sound stopped, and then about 30 seconds go by. We hear a soft laugh off in the distance. It sounds like a young girl, but almost evil in tone and pitch. The 3 of us gather and put our heads together. A second later, we hear a shotgun-type blast that hits the middle of our fire. Flames and embers go everywhere. Our tent catches fire, and we start shooting rounds off into the night. None of us can see where the shot came from, so we decide to nope out of the area. We ditch our tent and supplies and start running through the dense woods. We get maybe 20 yards from our campsite, and another gunshot goes off and whizzes past our heads. Oh my God, we could die tonight. We drop to the ground and try and hide in the dense brush. I hear the sound of engines in the distance, and the sound seems to be getting closer and closer. Headlights rise up over the ridge and 2 quads are carrying 4 large bearded men. They are armed with rifles and huge spotlights. This is it. The time is now. These men approach our position in the brush and shine their spotlights right past us, and then kill their engines. My balls are burning from the adrenaline dump. As we ran, we agreed to only fire if fired upon. We did not want to give up our hiding spot unless all hell broke loose. The men began searching the area behind us. We started army crawling away slowly and as silently as possible. We reached a small clearing and then rose up and sprinted away. The men heard us and ran back to their quads and pursued us. Luckily, we made it to our truck and got the hell out of there. We never camped again after that night, but we are thankful how it turned out. Story number 2. You are going to think I'm crazy, but camping in the snow is my absolute favorite pastime. Most of you will think I'm insane, but if you burrow yourself a solid snow cave, you can be very comfortable temperature-wise. If you make sure you dig out enough space for you to move around and make a few ventilation holes, it can be a great adventure. Anyways, I live in Alaska, born and raised, so snow is something that is always around. You adapt to these harsh elements the best way you can over the years. To me, the soft white dam, also known as snow, can actually be quite relaxing and therapeutic. I enjoy being alone, and the snow is so silent and peaceful to me. This event took place when I was 19 years old. I am male and a large man at 6'4", 240 pounds. I packed all of the gear that I needed for a weekend-long snow camping trip. I always let my parents and closest friends know when and where I will be on my travels. This is the safest way to do your business, is letting loved ones know where you will be in case of emergency. I set off in my Subaru to a beautiful snow-laden spot about 1 hour from my home. The view from the spot is amazing. You can see a lake surrounded by low-hanging trees and a view of the mountains that is breathtaking. I dug out my sleeping quarters before the sun went down and gathered some wood to start a fire. I made my late-night dinner consisting of some scrambled eggs and a couple of sausage links. Just a quick and easy meal as I was tired from the trek in. The time was now 10 p.m. and I decided to call it a night. I crawled into my icy cave and proceeded to try and fall asleep. May I remind you that there is no cell service out here, and I am 15 miles from civilization. I fell asleep and then woke up for some reason at around 2:30 a.m., and I heard a soft crunching sound. It sounded like a person trying to walk softly on purpose to avoid detection. I have a large hunting knife and a small revolver packed with me at all times for safety. I'm only about 1.5 feet below the surface in my snow cave, and my ventilation holes are visible from the surface. I marked them with multiple medium-sized sticks. I waited out hoping whoever or whatever will just go away. That wasn't the case. All of a sudden my vent holes were being covered up. Full panic mode sets in. I grabbed my gun and scrambled to the opening of the cave. I burst out of the opening, weapon drawn, and see 2 men dressed all in black. I yell at them and they freeze. Their backs are to me, and I ordered them to slowly turn around to face me. I could die tonight, I thought to myself. The men do not respond to my verbal command and start turning around. I yell, "Stop!" and they turn around fully. I notice something off though when I lock eyes with one of them. Their eyes were glowing this bright green color, not night vision goggles, and very hard to make out what it was. I fire a warning shot and they start sprinting away at an insanely high rate of speed. It was like they were floating and almost hovering away. I grabbed the essentials in my cave and ran for my life back to my car. I don't know what the hell those things were, but I am truly thankful I made it out of there alive that night. Story number 3. This is more of a hiking story than camping, but I thought I would submit it nonetheless. I am a 19-year-old female, and my best friend Kate and I are avid hikers. We love all things wilderness related. The story takes place in the summer of 2019. Kate and I love hiking the Appalachian Trail. This trail spans 2,190 miles. So there is always fresh trails and areas to be explored. We set off on our hike in the main area of the trail, because that is the state that we hail from. The weather was beautiful that day. We started hiking around 6:30 a.m. near sunup. We absolutely love the early morning hikes, plus the heat isn't as much of a factor yet. I packed a full day pack including food, tons of water, survival gear, first aid kit, etc. We both did Girl Scouts, so we were always aware and well prepared. We reach our first major incline on the trail, and Kate notices a man up ahead of us. He is roughly 50 feet in front of us, partially hiding behind a tree. She taps me on the shoulder and swings my body around to face her. She says, "Jane, pay attention. That guy has a large knife down at his side." I froze in place and nearly had a heart attack. This man had a huge, toothy grin on his face and stares at us and waves. We make a run for it in the opposite direction. As we are sprinting down this decline, I can hear heavy footfalls behind us. This man is chasing us. I hike often, but sprinting and hiking at a comfortable pace are two completely different things. I feel like my legs are going to give out at any moment. Kate looks behind us and screams, "Run faster! Run faster!" He is almost within 3 feet of us. He reaches to grab my long hair and somehow trips over a rock and bites it hard. He screams out in pain, and it looks as if he has broken his ankle. We keep on running, and as we make our way around the final turn to escape from his sight, I see him point his finger and make the throat-cutting motion. How evil and dark is this stranger? We made it back to our car and talked about what happened the whole ride back to town. We could have easily lost our lives on that trail. A piece of advice: always be aware of your surroundings. Bad things happen all the time, even when you're not alone. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Email your true scary stories to thesinfulsavant@gmail.com. I'll leave a link to my email in the description box below as well. Until we meet again, stay sinful.